We're going to start this video by bringing in a quote from Barcelona manager Xavi Hernandez. Why, do you ask? Valid question. It's simple. People outside of Real Madrid circles constantly get triggered by the way Real Madrid wins, and it just doesn't matter. Because Real Madrid, they keep winning, and quite frankly, it's amusing and incredible. Quote, Barca's history has demands of us, not of Madrid, Xavi explained when asked about whether or not he was envious of Real Madrid's win over Chelsea. Our history for 40 years, when Johan came, set a bar to win by playing well. If we don't play well, we're not happy. That's how we Catalans are. I don't know how it is in Madrid. I haven't lived there and I don't know its idiosyncrasies. End quote. Let's be clear. Real Madrid did not dominate Chelsea. And on the Managing Madrid podcast, we rightfully pointed out all the things Real Madrid did wrong. But somehow, some way, the European DNA keeps coming through. Real Madrid have won the Champions League 13 times, and on many of those occasions, they were not regarded as the best team in Europe, and certainly not the best team in La Liga. Some would say Real Madrid can be bad and still win the Champions League. We would twist it. Real Madrid can be bad, but also be unbelievably unstoppable during the most important stretches of the season. Against PSG, Benzema and Modric transcended. Against Chelsea, they did it again, but both transcended for key moments despite Chelsea and PSG being better for large stretches. It should be noted also that Real Madrid have gotten valuable contributions from Eduardo Camavinga, Lucas Vazquez, Rodrigo Goes off the bench in both of those ties. While there is a lot of room for concern with Real Madrid's tactical holes moving into the semifinals, let's not pretend the team does not deserve to be where they are. Now, let's get into some X's and O's. While the most obvious talking point from the first half of the first leg was Karim Benzema, it should be noted that Real Madrid's defensive shape and ability to get into the final third quickly and efficiently stemmed from Casemiro as the team's defensive linchpin. The Brazilian shielded Zone 14 and prevented Chelsea's multiple runners from getting into the box. His performance in organizing the team's shape while constantly being in the right position to win the ball was instrumental in Real Madrid's quick 2-goal lead at Stamford Bridge. From there, Kroos or Modric would get the ball to Fede Valverde or Vinicius Jr., most notably the latter, who licked his lips every time he received the ball on the wing and saw a helpless Andreas Christensen on the wing facing him. Being at Stamford Bridge's press row, we sat close enough to Chelsea's bench to hear, word for word, what Thomas Tuchel was shouting, and he was furious with Andreas Christensen, telling him, "You're getting your angles wrong." Tuchel was not happy with Kanté's positioning either. The French midfielder had important challenges over the course of two legs, but in the first leg, he also gave Toni Kroos too much space to hit passes down the flank. Chelsea's gambles cost them. Their performance in the first half of the first leg may have cost them the tie as a whole, as it wasn't just Christensen who was carved, but Thiago Silva's positioning allowed Karim Benzema with two free headers as well. Simple tweaks from Tuchel at halftime made a huge difference. He took Christensen and Kanté off for Mateo Kovacic and Hakim Ziyech, then slotted Reece James deeper into a back four. That helped zip up the team's defense and control Vinicius, but in turn, deploying James deeper to prevent Vinicius breaks meant Chelsea lost the right back's important attacking impetus in the final third, which is a trade-off Real Madrid could live with given they had a 2-goal cushion at that point. In truth, the simple tweak from Tuchel stabilized the team, and from their perspective, given that the change worked, it was gutting for them to concede a goal so early in the second half from Edouard Mendy's mistake. Tuchel kept Reece James in a deeper role in the second leg as well, and again, that adjustment worked as James kept Vinicius in check by defending him well 1v1. In turn, Chelsea relied on Ruben Loftus-Cheek as their primary offensive threat on the right, but didn't get much production from him against Ferland Mendy. But again, that trade-off still had a positive cost-benefit analysis for them, and their offensive spark came from constant off-ball cuts from Mason Mount and Timo Werner, while Kai Havertz roamed. The best example of this came on Chelsea's opening goal, which was a result of genius off-ball movement from Mount, originally marked by Luka Modric on the wing, where he cut diagonally into the box to provide Chelsea with numerical superiority into the box before expertly finishing at the far post. The matchups on the wing remained fascinating throughout the second leg, and while Tuchel got some things right, he also got some things wrong. After Ancelotti brought on Marcelo for Mendy, Tuchel should have reacted by bringing on Ziyech sooner to attack the Brazilian left back. But Ziyech didn't come on until the 100th minute, and he went over to the left side instead. As the game unfolded, it was apparent that Chelsea did not test Marcelo at all defensively and let him off the hook, letting Real Madrid's captain do what suits him most, having time on the ball to make passes down the flank to Vinicius. Chelsea did, of course, do damage from the other side. Marcos Alonso was an offensive upgrade over Cesar Azpilicueta, who started the first leg. "We played with the same system as usual," Ancelotti said after the first leg. "The only difference was to have Valverde more focused on their left wing back. We then had Carvajal a little more inside to try to control Pulisic and Mount. Valverde did very well. It might have looked like a back five at times, but it all depended on the position of Azpilicueta, as Valverde always kept an eye on for him. If Azpilicueta stayed deep, then Valverde played as a forward. If not, Valverde held back." While with a huge nod to Valverde, Real Madrid did really well to control those runs in the first leg, the second leg was different. Marcos Alonso was more adventurous and even occupied central areas in junction with the constant movement of the front three, which made it difficult for Carvajal, Nacho, Modric, and Valverde to track all those runs. You can see the moving parts of Chelsea's offense as well as Real Madrid's defensive confusion in both Alonso's disallowed goal as well as the goal that Timo Werner scored. On Werner's goal in particular, Nacho's gamble, something he struggled with getting right his whole career, cost the team in many ways, but the mistakes didn't stop there. Valverde failed to track Kovacic, and Nacho leaving his post meant Werner ran into the half space undetected as Camavinga didn't react in time to close him, and Werner then slid easily past the sliding challenges of Casemiro and Alaba. At the point of Werner's goal, with the team down and outplayed, it was hard to see a way back. But it was in that exact moment the contrast in mental fortitude between both teams was apparent. As Real Sociedad's Mikel Merino said of the Santiago Bernabeu earlier this season, "It's so tough. They start to believe in themselves, you start to doubt yourself." In one motion, Luka Modric slung the outside of his boot through the ball and hoisted a diagonal cross to the far post for Rodrigo, who opened the scoring for Real Madrid. It was a staggering assist because it was the least obvious pass on the table. Modric had a clear, simple through ball to Vinicius ahead of him, but instead, as we said, he transcended. That was the turning point, and it should be noted that Camavinga again was vital for Real Madrid off the bench. He helped press on Rodrigo's goal before Alaba intercepted it, and it was the Frenchman's interception himself that helped get Vinicius free down the flank to set up Benzema's goal later. Camavinga also had a vital tactical foul to stop a Chelsea break, and his two-way energy was essential. Naturally, we can't talk about this tie without mentioning Real Madrid's glaring weakness all season. The defending on set pieces has been brutal, and Chelsea had a free header on almost every set piece. Rudiger finally scored in one instance, but Chelsea missed a plethora of free headers and big chances over the course of both legs as Real Madrid clawed their way to the finish line. Yet still, Real Madrid march on, and they deserve to be where they are. Chelsea and PSG wilted mentally, and Real, smelling blood, were lethal and ruthless when it mattered. Thanks for watching this week's School of Real Madrid video. If you like our work, please hit subscribe and turn notifications on, and help us grow so that we can continue to put the time into these videos for you to enjoy. Also, don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.